Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking through a couple player props I like on Prizepicks for today's NBA slate on Tuesday, February the 14th. We got a 5-game Tuesday slate tonight, so a little bit of a smaller slate, but I still did find 2 props I like for tonight, guys. We pretty much have the full board posted. There's still some teams we're waiting to get added, like we don't have any Warriors props up yet. They're on the second night of a back-to-back. There's no Blazers props up yet, at least like not fantasy scores, but a lot of teams are posted, a lot of options to choose from, and I got 2 fantasy score props that I do like for today. You guys know that fantasy scores are kind of like my go-to, so we're going to talk through these 2 fantasy scores. We're going to share why I like them, but before we do get started with the breakdown, as always, if you guys enjoy these prospect videos, if they help you out, please hit that like button down below. I always do appreciate the likes. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet, and if you guys are new to Prizepicks and if you have never checked out Prizepicks before, you can sign up with my promo code NOAH. You do look at the bottom of the screen. When you sign up with promo code NOAH, Prizepicks will match your first deposit up to $100. So definitely give them a try if you have not yet. And I do want to recap our plays from yesterday real quick. So yesterday we gave out 2 picks. Unfortunately, we only hit one of our 2 picks, so we didn't cash on that 2-pick entry. We took the over on DeMar DeRozan's points prop, and DeRozan, he had a decent first half. I think he had like 13 or 14 points at halftime, but really just couldn't get much going in the second half. He didn't have the best shooting game overall. I think he shot like 7 for 20 or 8 for 20. The volume was there, though. The matchup I really liked against Orlando, but he finished with just 21 points, or I think he finished like 20 points. Came up just short of his projection. I know his line did get bumped during the day up to 23. And actually, I played his first half points in one of my entries that I gave out on Patreon, and his first half points actually hit. That line was at 10.5. He hit that in the first half, by a slim margin. I think he scored like his 11th point with like maybe 10 seconds left before halftime. He didn't go over his full game points though, which was super annoying. The volume was there, the minutes were there. He just didn't have the best game overall shooting wise. But we did cash our other play. We did take the over on Rudy Gobert's rebounds. Gobert had a pretty good rebounding game, played like 29 minutes, had like 14 rebounds, and we only needed 11 from him. So that play did come through for us. Unfortunately, though, DeRozan did not hit his full game points prop. I told you guys yesterday with the $50 protected play that I was going to post that on Patreon. I gave out my $50 entry. It was a 6-pick entry, and we went 5 of 6 on that, which was super annoying. I mean, we had a shot at winning $1,200, turning $50 into $1,200. But we took Walker Kessler's over fantasy score. That was one of the plays I gave out on Patreon yesterday. Kessler had 22 points at halftime. He was looking great, on pace for over 40 fantasy points, and we only needed 33 from him. And sure enough, to start the third quarter, he plays like 2 minutes, picks up his 4th foul, subs out, never subs back in. So that was just, God, that was super, super annoying to not cash that 6 pick because of the Kessler foul trouble. But we did cash all our other Patreon plays, and we did make a little bit of money yesterday going 5 of 6 on our 6-pick entry. But let's try and hit both these plays for today, get off to a good start. So we'll start off with the first play of the day. The first fantasy score prop that I do like for today, guys, is going to be Derek White. His fantasy score line sits at 36.5. I know this line does seem kind of high, but Derek White's been playing really, really well lately. He's gone over this line in 3 out of his last 4 games. The one game he didn't go over, I mean, he literally finished like less than a point short, 35.7 against Philly. I like this spot though for Derek White, just in terms of role and usage. Now, the matchup against Milwaukee might not be the best. The Bucks are a good defensive team. They're not a team I usually like to attack, but the Celtics are going to be super, super shorthanded here. No Jason Tatum, at least. Jason Tatum is not expected to play. He is doubtful. Jaylen Brown is still out, and Marcus Smart is still out as well. So no Marcus Smart, no Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum is doubtful. So I like Derek White to go over 36.5 fantasy score. Obviously, lately he's been producing pretty well. He's been, going consistently over this line, and he's been playing massive, massive minutes as well. So his minutes lately have been through the roof, and you want to factor in that a lot. Pretty much all those games lately, all these games were with Jason Tatum. Now Malcolm Brogdon was out for some of these games, and Brogdon is back for today. But I think Tatum being out is a bigger boost for White than Brogdon coming back. Like obviously Brogdon coming back is going to hurt White a little bit, but then you have to factor in that Tatum is expected to be out. So man, without Tatum and Smart and especially Jaylen Brown, like no Tatum and Brown is the biggest. That's the biggest just kind of boost for Derek White, because those are like the 2 highest usage guys. Those are the 2 guys that take a lot of the shots, do a lot of the ball handling when they're on the floor. So taking them off the floor pretty much leaves Derek White as like the number 1 scoring option for the Celtics team. And you look at Derek White's game log, just like over these last few games, he's played huge minutes. Last game, I think he played like almost 40 minutes. He played, 40 minutes last game against Memphis. He played 36.5 minutes against Charlotte. He played 38 minutes against Philly, 37 minutes against Detroit, 35 minutes against Phoenix. He's been playing a ton lately, and his per minute production's been pretty good. He's been averaging around, if not over, a fantasy point per minute. And you take a look at his numbers this season. When you take Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum off the floor, Derek White, 29.5% usage rate, which is the second highest on the team behind Malcolm Brogdon, averaging 1.22 fantasy points per minute in the minutes that he's played without those three guys, Smart, Brown, Tatum. So we can expect White to have pretty good usage here. We can expect him to be productive when he's on the floor. I think Boston can keep this game close, even though they are going to be a little bit shorthanded here. This Boston team is still really good. They're still pretty deep. Derek White's a good player. Malcolm Brogdon's a good player. Robert Williams, Al Horford, those guys are good players as well. Like, it's not like this Celtics team is just running out a bunch of scrubs. I mean, they still have good players on their roster, even though they don't have their two stars for this game. So I think Boston keeps this game close. I think Derek White plays a ton of minutes once again. He should be productive when he's on the floor, given he's their number one option on offense. And he's gone over this line in 3 out of his last 4 games. The one game he barely went under with 35.7 fantasy points. And these games were all with Jason Tatum. Now you take Jason Tatum out, I think we can expect an even bigger role, bigger usage rate for Derek White here. And I expect him to be productive. So that's the first pick I do like for today, guys. Derek White, more than 36.5 fantasy score. And then the other pick I like, another fantasy score prop, I want to talk about Devin Booker. So his fantasy score sits at 36.5 as well. And I also like the over on this play. Now, you look at Devin Booker's last 2 games. Obviously, those are his first 2 games since coming back from injury. Against Brooklyn, put up 30.8 fantasy points. Against Indiana, he put up 32.3 fantasy points. In those 2 games, he did play about 26 minutes. So against Brooklyn, he played 25.5 minutes. And then against Indy, he played 26 minutes. But I did take a look at kind of his rotation in those 2 games. It's always a bit tricky to see how teams are going to treat a player when he comes back from injury. Clearly, the Suns have kind of been easing Booker in, but he hasn't played since Friday. That was the day they played the Pacers. They had a game on Saturday, but Booker rested Saturday, so Booker did not play Saturday in their most recent game just because it was a back-to-back and they wanted to rest him. So he hasn't played since Friday. He should be pretty rested for this game. And I was looking at his rotation. So in the first game against Brooklyn, he was eased in pretty hard. Like, he didn't play a ton. He played just 5 minutes in the first quarter before subbing out. He started the second quarter, played about 5 minutes, and then subbed out. So he only played about 10 minutes in the first half of that Brooklyn game. But in the second half, he did play much longer stints. So in the third quarter, he played about 8 minutes before he subbed out. And then he subbed back in with about 7 minutes left and played out the final 7 minutes of the game to get him to about 25, 26 minutes. And then in their most recent game against Indiana, he played about 6 minutes in the first quarter, subbed out. So he played basically half the first quarter. And then he started the second quarter, played about 5 minutes in the second quarter, subbed out. And then he did sub back in with about a minute left and played, I would say, 13, 14 first half minutes in that game. And then in the second half, played 6 minutes to start the third quarter, subbed out. Once again, started the fourth quarter, played about 4 minutes, subbed out. And then he subbed back in with about 4 minutes left. Pretty much played like those final 4 minutes to get him to about 26 minutes. But even in that game, Chris Paul only played 29 minutes. DeAndre Ayton only played 29 minutes. So a lot of the key guys, like the stars, they didn't play their full minutes either. That game against Indiana, the Suns were winning that game by a decent margin. Indiana didn't even play, in the fourth quarter, they didn't play Halliburton. They didn't play Miles Turner. So really there was no need for the Suns to rush their guys back into the game. They might not have even subbed back in if the game wasn't somewhat competitive. I think Indiana started to make a run towards the end of the game, so the Suns subbed their guys back in for a few minutes. But I think given that he's rested and hasn't played since Friday, we're probably going to get over 30 minutes from Devin Booker here. I know he's been eased back in his first few games, but you look at his lines kind of across the board, and this is a thing you can do. When a player comes back from injury, you can kind of look at where the books are projecting him, and that can kind of tell you, is he going to get full minutes? Is he going to be limited? His PRA prop, at least on Prizepicks, it sits at 34.5, and you look at some of his props across the board. On DK Sportsbook, his PRA props at 33.5, but it's heavily juiced on the over. You look at his points prop. I mean, on DK Sportsbook, his points prop sits at 24.5, and it's somewhat juiced on the over. Like, I don't think Devin Booker would have a 24.5 points prop today if he was playing like 25 minutes. I think we're going to get close to full minutes from Devin Booker here. And you got to think, this Suns team right now, at least until they get Kevin Durant, until Kevin Durant gets healthy, they're kind of shorthanded. They don't have Mikal Bridges anymore. Cameron Payne is still out as well. They traded away Cam Johnson too. I mean, without Mikal Bridges and without Cameron Payne on the floor this season, it's a pretty small sample size. Devin Booker's only played about 132 minutes without Bridges and Payne, but he has been super, super productive in those minutes. He's got a 38.4% usage rate, which leads the team, and he's averaged 1.72 fantasy points per minute in the minutes that he's played without Bridges and without Payne this season. You could even take like Cam Johnson off the floor. You could take some other guys like Dario Saric, not on the team anymore, but I think not having Payne still, not having Bridges, and while Kevin Durant is still not healthy either, this is going to be Devin Booker's kind of team to carry, I guess. I mean, I think Booker, especially once he gets back at full strength, we're going to see him be really productive in the minutes that he gets. This is a decent matchup against Sacramento. This should be a pretty fast-paced, high-scoring game. You look at the total in this game of all the 5 games today. This game does have, I believe, the highest total on the slate. It's actually got the second highest total on the slate, right behind Portland and Washington. 234 total in this Phoenix-Sacramento game with a 2.5-point spread. So this game should be high-scoring, should be competitive. It's also Devin Booker's first game back home since he got injured. So I'm sure the home crowd's going to be cheering for him anytime he's on the floor. So I think we're going to get close to full minutes from Devin Booker. I think he should be really productive. I mean, he's been productive since coming back from injury. He just hasn't played a ton of minutes. But given that he's rested for this game, given he hasn't played since Friday, I think we're definitely going to get more than 26 minutes from Booker here. I'm expecting about 30, maybe low 30s, maybe like 31, 32. And if Booker plays anywhere near that, if he plays over 30 minutes without Bridges, without Payne as kind of the number one usage guy, yeah, I have a pretty good feeling he's going to go over 36.5 fantasy score. And rarely do you see like fantasy score and PRA, rarely do you see just a 2.5 point difference. Normally, every PRA fantasy score, there's going to be at least like a 4 or 5 point difference. The fact that Booker's PRA is at 34 and his fantasy score is only at 36.5, yeah, I'll definitely take that over on fantasy score. If Booker goes over 34 PRA, almost certainly he's going to go over 36.5 fantasy score, unless by some chance he has just like 7 turnovers or something, which hopefully doesn't happen. But that is what I like for today, guys. A little 2-pick entry, kind of some early plays I like. I did take a first look at the board. These were the 2 plays that stood out to me most. But I'm definitely going to be sharing a few more plays for today over on Patreon. It is kind of a smaller slate, so don't know how much I'm going to, how many plays I'm going to have for today, but I'll try and find at least 2 or 3 more plays I like. Give those out on Patreon. If you guys want to check out the Patreon, get more Prizepicks plays from me, you can do so. It's linked down below in the description. But appreciate you guys watching this video. Hit that like button if you enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. Check out Prizepicks as well. Sponsor of the video. Sign up for Prizepicks. Use that code NOAH when you sign up. Get your first deposit matched up to $100. But good luck tonight, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.